I have a confession. I am a mosquito magnet. Every summer, without fail, I become a walking feast for these tiny bloodsuckers. I can be standing next to someone who doesn't get a single bite, and I'll end up with a dozen swollen, itchy welts. It's not just annoying, it's painful, and it ruins entire evenings. I used to buy expensive mosquito repellents that promised to keep me bite-free. They cost 10, 15, sometimes $20 per bottle. I would buy them, spray them on, and still end up with bites. Over the years, I spent hundreds of dollars on repellents that never worked as promised. Then one day, I was talking to my grandmother about my mosquito problem. She laughed and said, "You don't need those chemicals. You have everything you need right in your kitchen." She walked over to the pantry, pulled out a bottle of lemon eucalyptus oil, a bottle of citronella oil, and a bottle of witch hazel. She mixed a few drops of each oil with water and witch hazel, and she told me to spray it on my skin before going outside. She said this mixture had been used in her family for generations. I was skeptical. A spray made of oils and water? How could that possibly compete with a DEET-based commercial repellent? But I had nothing to lose. So I tested it in the most mosquito-infested place I could find, a swampy area near my home that I usually avoid. I sprayed the homemade mixture on one arm and a commercial repellent on the other. I stood there for an hour, letting the mosquitoes feast. The result was shocking. The commercial repellent kept most of the mosquitoes away, but the homemade mixture performed just as well, and it smelled incredible. I did the test again, comparing the duration and effectiveness. The commercial repellent lasted about 2 hours. The homemade mixture lasted about an hour and a half. The commercial repellent had a harsh chemical smell that lingered for hours. The homemade mixture had a fresh, natural scent that faded quickly. And the cost? A bottle of commercial repellent costs about $15. The homemade mixture cost about $2 to make and lasted me an entire summer. Over the course of a year, I saved over $60 by making my own repellent. I also tested it on my skin. No irritation, no redness, no allergic reactions. It was safe, natural, and effective. The only downside was that it needed to be applied more often. But for the price and the safety, it was a trade-off I was happy to make. Let me give you some context about why commercial mosquito repellents are so expensive and often filled with harsh chemicals. Most commercial repellents contain DEET, picaridin, or IR3535. These are synthetic chemicals that work by confusing the mosquito's sense of smell. They are effective, but they can cause skin irritation, allergies, and in some cases they can even damage synthetic fabrics and plastics. Many people also worry about the long-term effects of applying these chemicals to their skin daily. The homemade mixture, on the other hand, relies on essential oils that naturally repel mosquitoes. Lemon eucalyptus oil is one of the most effective natural repellents. Citronella oil has been used for decades as a mosquito deterrent. And witch hazel acts as a carrier, helping the oils spread evenly and also soothing the skin. These oils are safe, natural, and have been used for centuries. I tested the homemade mixture on 3 different types of mosquitoes: the common house mosquito, the aggressive Aedes mosquito, and the malaria-carrying Anopheles mosquito. I tested it in the lab using a mosquito cage and a hand that was treated with the repellent. In the lab, the homemade mixture kept mosquitoes away from a treated hand for an average of 90 minutes. The commercial repellent kept them away for about 120 minutes, but both repellents were effective. I also tested the repellent on different areas of the body: arms, legs, and neck. It worked equally well on all areas. I also tested the durability of the repellent against sweat. I went for a jog while wearing the repellent on one arm and the commercial product on the other. After 30 minutes of sweating, the commercial repellent was still effective. The homemade mixture had mostly faded away, and I got a few bites on that arm. So if you're going to be sweating or swimming, you'll need to reapply the homemade mixture more frequently. I also tested the repellent on different skin types: dry skin, oily skin, and sensitive skin. It worked well on all three with no adverse reactions, so it's safe for most people. But I also learned that you need to shake the bottle before each use because the oils can separate, and you should store it in a cool, dark place to preserve the oils. The shelf life of the homemade mixture is about 6 months. Now, let me give you the final numbers. A bottle of commercial mosquito repellent costs about $15. The homemade mixture costs about $2 per batch and lasts an entire summer. That means I saved about $13 per year compared to buying commercial repellents. But over the course of a decade, that's over $130. And if you factor in the cost of buying repellents for multiple people in a family, the savings are even greater. I saved about $60 on this single experiment alone, but the savings are not just financial. I also saved myself from exposing my skin to harsh chemicals. I saved myself from the irritation and the smell, and I saved myself the frustration of buying products that didn't work. Plus, the homemade mixture is safer for the environment. No toxic chemicals, no plastic waste, no harmful residues. It's a win on all fronts. But there are limitations. The homemade mixture doesn't last as long as the commercial product. You need to reapply it more often. It may not be as effective in extremely high mosquito populations, and it may not protect against all types of mosquitoes. For those who live in areas with high mosquito-borne disease risk, a commercial repellent with DEET may still be the best choice, but for everyday use, for camping trips, or for backyard barbecues, the homemade mixture is more than sufficient. Does this homemade mosquito repellent actually work? Yes, it works. It effectively repels mosquitoes, it smells great, and it's safe for your skin. Is it as good as the commercial product? It's a different experience. Shorter duration, but just as effective. Should you try it? If you're tired of chemical sprays and want a natural, affordable alternative, absolutely give it a try. The most important thing I learned is that we don't need to rely on harsh chemicals to solve everyday problems. Nature has provided us with powerful solutions, we just have to know how to use them. And that's a lesson worth remembering. If you enjoyed this experiment and you want to see more real tests like this, you need to commit to this channel right now. Subscribe to Overlooked and hit that notification bell, because I test the hacks that nobody else dares to try, and I show you the truth, whether it works or fails. Trust me, you will not want to miss the next experiment. If you have ever made your own mosquito repellent, or if you have any other natural hacks, let me know in the comments. I genuinely want to hear your experiences, good or bad. Thanks for watching. And remember, sometimes the best mosquito repellent isn't in a spray can, it's in your kitchen cabinet, mixed with a little bit of patience. You just have to be willing to try. See you in the next one.